The U.S. housing market is booming. 5.6 million single-family homes were sold last year. That's more than at any time since the 2006 housing bubble, according to the National Association of Realtors. And more, the buyers are investors. According to John Burns Real Estate Consulting, investors purchasing homes to rent or flip currently make up about 20% of all U.S. housing sales. During the pandemic, millions of homeowners have fallen behind on their mortgages, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association, and rental home investors are preparing for a potential windfall. Some investors are finding homes through a growing niche known as sale-leasebacks. That's a transaction where a property owner sells a home and then rents it back from the buyer. Are programs like these offering an opportunity to homeowners or taking one away?
Yeah, that's where I taught my kids to swim. It's just little things. My first big major purchase I ever made in my life. I don't really see myself living anywhere else or really wanting to.
Blaine Marburger has lived in his home in Denison, Texas, outside of Dallas, for nearly 20 years. He never expected he'd now be renting it from a New York real estate investment company.
I kept falling short.
After the pandemic ravaged his finances, he found a company through an internet search that offered to buy his house for $180,000 and rent it back to him for $1,600 a month, with the opportunity to repurchase it within a year or two.
And eventually, this was my option.
He raised his 3 kids here and imagined he'd stay in the house until he retired from his job as a physical therapist. Then the pandemic hit. He says he lost half his income as he could no longer make home health visits.
I got a forbearance on the house, so I basically had a year that I didn't make a payment.
During the same period, he also went through a divorce and started paying child support.
I think, honestly, if the pandemic didn't come, I could have made it.
Marburger says he fell deeper into debt and his credit score plunged. Even though he had temporary forbearance protection, which allowed him to skip payments for up to a year and make them up later, he worried he could lose the home.
I was very apprehensive about doing it, but I was coming to the end of my options, deciding what am I going to do.
The company Marburger found, EasyKnock, was originally conceived to allow homeowners to start cashing out their homes when the market was hot or when an expense arose. But during the pandemic, EasyKnock says it turned its focus on distressed homeowners who needed access to quick cash to pay off debt. Last summer, it raised $25 million from venture investors, adding to the hundreds of millions of debt it had already raised, according to Crunchbase. In Texas alone, it's purchased more than 100 homes over the past 2 years, according to public records.
We've grown in the triple digits in percentage terms over the last year. We've bought north of $220 million worth of homes, and our average home is pretty much in line with the national average, which is around $280,000.
EasyKnock has a new path to financial freedom.
CEO Jared Kessler says the company decided to focus on sale-leasebacks to offer homeowners with bad credit a way to take cash out of their house.
All you have to pay is monthly rent.
If people wonder if we're the lost and found and we're the destination of last resort, the answer is absolutely not. People can sell their home. That's an easy solution for people. If you want to stay in your home and you want the cash out and you want to be treated with respect, we're the best choice.
For Marburger, the sale-leaseback was both a last resort and a lifeline to pay off his growing debt. EasyKnock paid $182,000 for Marburger's house, which it valued at $315,000. That paid off his mortgage balance of $119,000, including a roughly $58,000 lien from years earlier, and gave him $30,000 cash to pay off his debt. EasyKnock took a $7,800 processing fee and is collecting $1,600 in monthly rent. In 12 to 16 months, Marburger has the option to buy back the house for $187,000.
The house was about 4 years away from being totally paid off before the pandemic. So it's like, I just needed 4 more years, man. But it doesn't always work out the way that you want it to.
Millions of Americans are in a similar situation as Marburger. About 2.2 million homeowners are currently in forbearance, according to the New York Federal Reserve Bank. Serious mortgage delinquencies, those more than 90 days late, have quintupled since the start of the pandemic, according to mortgage data provider Black Knight. Currently, federal and local pandemic restrictions on foreclosures are protecting some homeowners from being kicked out. But Ira Reingold, with the National Association of Consumer Advocates, is worried about what happens when those protections run out. He remembers seeing programs like Sale-Leasebacks during the housing crisis.
As someone who's done consumer protection for a long time, where people are harmed the most is when they're desperate, when they're scared and they're desperate and they're afraid of losing their home, losing something, right? They're afraid of going into bankruptcy.
Reingold says he understands why sale-leasebacks are appealing for struggling homeowners, but he thinks they're giving up too much for quick cash. And he says in his experience, rarely can distressed homeowners buy their houses back.
I understand the short-term benefit of peace of mind, the short-term benefit of not worried about being homeless in a year. But you're giving up your long-term stability. You're giving up all of the equity that you may have earned in your home over these years. And if you want generational wealth, if it's something that you want your kids to have someday, or if it's a place that you want to live for the next 30 years, you're giving all of that up and you're selling it really low.
Kessler says that at this point, about a quarter of EasyKnock customers have bought back their homes. Morgan Stanley analysts say they expect sale-leasebacks to continue to grow because of the robust single-family rental market, especially for retirees looking to tap into their home equity. They estimate there could be 1 million homes sold through sale-leasebacks in the next 5 to 10 years. Invitation Homes, the country's largest home rental company, says it is planning a sale-leaseback program in the fall as another channel to add to its 80,000 homes, though it's in very early stages.
There's no street lights, it's just poles, and unless you're really kind of looking for it, you'll drive by it and not even think twice.
At this point, Marburger says he has no regrets.
If you don't pay your rent, they're gonna come take your house. It's not a nonprofit organization. They're investors, they got to make their money too, just like all of us do.
But he's still optimistic that he'll be able to buy back his house at the end of his 16-month contract.
I guess honestly the best way to put it is I'm still hanging on to a lot of memories. I'm not really ready to give them up yet. I'm not ready to start that chapter.